We're going to devote our energies to sports and gardening, all the cultural pursuits as far as they're concerned. In fact, we're going to put the goons to sleep. Meanwhile, we dig.
Here we go again.
Greetings and welcome to the Anadrome. This is Byrne Power coming to you on a rather toasty day here in Tbilisi, Georgia. But I'm inside. I've got air conditioning, which I've turned off for this recording. And I'm doing all right. And I've appreciated many of the new subscribers who've come, many coming through Andy Edwards' channel, among others. And let's talk some more about music. Today what I've got for you is something which I think for most of you will be a new musical experience. And that is the variations on the traditional music of the country, not the United States state of Georgia, but the country of Georgia. And one thing I've done is I have invited my friend John Graham, who has been living in Georgia for over 10 years, and he has done his doctoral study, I believe it is, on the liturgical music of Georgia, but he knows a lot about the folk music of Georgia. So I interviewed him about a couple of years ago and let him explain what Georgian music is. So we are going to listen to him discussing it. Then, in the last half hour, what we're going to do is, there are styles he didn't cover. He has much more of a bent towards these really ancient songs and harmonies and such, which is absolutely wonderful. But there are more modern and contemporary things that I often get focused on as well. And I think those will be fascinating to you. So we are going to spend time with Georgian music. If you've never heard Georgian music before, it is typified by unusual harmonies. The great classical composer Igor Stravinsky, before he died near the last part of his life, was asked, what kind of music are you listening to these days? And he mentioned a couple of contemporary composers, but then he said, mostly Georgian music. And I'm sure the person who was asking him was like, Georgia on My Mind? Ray Charles singing? Well, it was before that period. So anyway, we're going to go to Georgia, and you won't see me again till after I've let John talk. I'm actually the one asking all the questions, but I cut myself out just to get a very clear, precise definition of what Georgian music is, with really interesting examples as well. So we're going to play a bit of music now, folk music from, Khepsereti, which is way up in the mountains, and it's a group of sisters, the Gogochuri sisters, singing a song during their festival called Shatiloba. Shatili is a small village, and they're connected with that village, and so the celebration of that village, the Oba, is the day. So there's a Tbilisi Oba, Shatiloba, and that generally means kind of a day of celebration or remembrance. So let's listen to the Sisters Gogochuri singing a short song. Then we'll go to John Graham, who will explain what Georgian music is. And then after he is done talking, I will come back for about a half hour and let you hear some other kinds of Georgian music, and we'll get a peek at Georgian dance as well, which is pretty wild. So, shall we Listen to the sisters Gogo Churi.
So my name is John Graham, and I'm an ethnomusicologist. Did my dissertation on the history of Georgian church music. I've also directed a number of folk choirs in the United States, specifically on Georgian folk music, and I enjoy singing as an amateur, though no one pays me to sing. And if you're interested in learning more about music, definitely feel free to write me or look me up. These days I'm leading private group tours around Georgia to the various regions, as well as Armenia and Turkey and Ethiopia. Well, Georgian folk music, I would say, is very unique for a lot of reasons. One is the harmony is different. So when people hear it and they associate it with other music that they've heard before, they're sometimes surprised by the cadences or the ends of the phrases, how they sound a little bit different. Another reason is the performance practice. The way that Georgians like to sing is with a bright tone and open throat. They generally sing pretty loud, especially in certain genres of folk music, like horseback riding songs or entertainment songs. Of course, there are other genres like a lullaby, which appropriately you'd sing quietly. But the way that Georgians sing is very much part of this world, the Mediterranean world, the Eastern Europe, Black Sea area. So those two things, the harmony being a little bit different than what we would expect from the West, and also the performance practice, the actual production of the sound. Those two things make it quite unique. Georgian polyphony is mostly 3-part harmony. So sometimes you get 2 or 4 parts, but it's usually 3 parts in all the different regions of Georgia, both mountainous and also in the lowlands, to the south near Turkey or Armenia, also to the north near Dagestan and Chechnya and Balkaria. All these regions of Georgia, the Georgian-speaking people, they like to sing polyphony. So they sing multiple voice parts. They don't just sing monophony, which would be like most singers in the world, where they just have one melody without harmony. But Georgians love to sing in polyphony. So if someone's singing one part, a second singer that joins in, they will never sing the same part. They'll harmonize it in some way. And the structure of the music is three voice polyphony. That's what they love. That's how they hear music. That's what makes a song feel complete to Georgians. If it's missing one of its voices, like if there's just 2 people singing, then they say, it's not complete. We really needed a third singer to make that feel true. No one really knows how old Georgian folk music is. One way that we can study it is to look at texts. So there are pre-Christian texts that come from some of the highland regions like Svaneti. We know that Svaneti region was Christianized in the 10th century. So people suppose that these folk songs at least these texts come from before then. And they're being sung in this 3-voice polyphonic style. So that's one bit of evidence. And another is just looking at the transmission processes of oral transmission. When a music is not written down and it's just being transmitted from generation to generation by grandparents to their children or great-grandchildren, or by priests or chanters in church contexts to apprentice chanters. There's a certain longevity to that process where people are afraid or they're trained not to change certain elements of an oral tradition, so they end up having a long transmission history. And in that way, a lot of people say that Georgian folk music, polyphonic music, could be thousands of years old, at least predating Christian arrival in Georgia. I mentioned Svaneti, it came in the 10th century, but in lowland Georgia, Christianity already arrives in the 4th century AD, and folk music definitely abounded already at that time. This was an agrarian society, and all of the folk music genres that we have show that folk music was an important part of every aspect of life, from waking up in the morning to getting ready for the work day. There's work songs for all different types of work, whether you're harvesting grass for the cattle, or you're threshing the grain, or you're pitching dried corn cobs, or you're stomping grapes in the trough. There was music for all of these kinds of activities. And then in the long winters, there would be the epic ballads, the historical ballads, or the entertainment songs when you had guests. Of course, there were mourning songs for the recently departed. There's marriage songs for the celebrations. There's lullabies for the children. There's horseback riding songs for traveling from one place to another. So there really are so many different genres of folk music that we know that folk music was a big part of Georgian culture, and therefore probably has a long history. So these days, one place that we can hear traditional Georgian polyphonic singing is this supra tradition. This is the traditional meal, the formal way that Georgians like to sit down at a table, share ideas through formalized toasts. They have an elected toastmaster, for example. And typically, if there are Georgian singers at the table, they will be encouraged to sing traditional songs in this context. And being a singer myself and having been to many of these supras, the genres of songs that we would pull from to perform at the supra table would usually be the entertainment genre. So the songs that we would like to sing, first one must be Mraval Jamieri, which means may we have many years, or may we be blessed by God. May we meet tomorrow. May God bless all of the guests and the hosts here at this table. That's the kind of meaning of that one song called Mraval Jamieri. It has various texts from various regions, and we have many different musical variants to choose from. But that's the basic opening theme song for a traditional feast. And then from there, there's a whole genre of entertainment songs that we can sing from all the different regions. Another place that we still hear traditional music in Georgia is in the church. There's a traditional chant, which is in a phase of revival now since 2000, or really since 1990, but started to pick up in 2000 when Patriarch Ilya declared that all Georgian churches should sing in traditional chant as opposed to other styles that had started to proliferate in the second half of the 20th century. So that was a real boon for scholars of Georgian traditional polyphonic chant who were studying the manuscripts in the archives and starting to print books and started to produce CDs of the old oral tradition of Georgian polyphonic chant. So nowadays, visitors to Georgia can go to any of the churches, say in Tbilisi, and expect to hear something that sounds like 3-part traditional Georgian chant, really transmitted from the Middle Ages down till today. And that's another place that we hear traditional chant. Another place that we hear traditional Georgian music sometimes is at funerals. These are often places where the oldest traditions are preserved, where people have memories of when they were children, being at other people's funerals and hearing certain kinds of laments that were sung. So now, in advanced age, when a relative or a friend dies, they will recreate those same funeral laments. And this is especially strong in the more remote areas of Georgia. So the areas that have been least affected by urbanization, globalization, or people that have left the village and the town. The places where communities are still intact and sort of remote tend to be the highland regions in Georgia, so up in the high Caucasus. And particularly in Svaneti, when someone dies, a group of men will come together and sing what's called a zari, which is a traditional lament. It's very haunting. It's very striking in its harmonies and its sound. And also the women gather together and have a particular kind of wailing that they do, which is reserved only for funerals. And this is really interesting place to hear traditional music. So a good hymn to start with, if one wants to learn about something about Georgian chant, is to start with a hymn called Shen Char Venachi. It means you are the vineyard. And it's a beautiful text that was written, actually we know the author was written by a king of Georgia in the Middle Ages. And there are a number of musical variants of this beautiful text that were preserved in oral tradition and then written down at the turn of the last century. Nowadays, this is more than just a church hymn. This is almost a de facto national anthem for Georgians. They play it in moments of great national pride, and they also play it in moments of great national pathos. So you will hear it, for example, a celebrity wedding or Independence Day. But then you also, I remember hearing it as the background for celebrity funerals, or during the 2008 war with Russia. It was often in the background as people were really fraught with tension about that situation. So this particular hymn means a lot to Georgians, and it's a good gateway into understanding Georgian liturgical music. Another a folk song that is a good entry into Georgian music is Mraval Jamieri, the classic from Kakheti region out in East Georgia. Now this is drone polyphony, so you're going to hear a whole group of basses singing a strong foundational drone. And above that, you'll have the best singers in the choir, two of them singing long melismatic phrases as they duel together in close harmony over the drone of the basses. And this is just one of those sounds that is entirely Georgian and brings all the patriotic feelings out of every Georgian. Now, a totally different sound, but equally Georgian, is the trio song Tren Shridoba from Guria. This is an improvised three-part harmony folk song where there's almost no text, and the three singers are just showing off their virtuosity, singing all around each other, all three voice parts moving separately from one another, and they come together just for brief moments at a cadence point. They take a breath together and then sweep off into something else. And sometimes you can hear the characteristic yodeling from Guria, which is very odd sounding, but this is entirely how the Gurians love to sing music, and very, very Georgian.
Oh
When Georgians get together in family contexts, like at New Year's or for someone's birthday, their music that they like to sing the most, at least as so far as I've observed, is what they call city songs or urban songs. And these were composed pieces of music from the late 19th century that used nationalist poetry and mixed it together with Neapolitan-style Italian art songs. And with Georgian singing, it's just a beautiful meld of those genres. So this genre of city songs from the 1870s and 80s and 90s is still popular even today. And you can perform it with a guitar or with a piano, or you can sing a cappella. It's usually 3-voice harmony, or you can add the 4th voice. It sounds more Italian that way. And you will often find that families of Georgians still love to sing these beautiful nationalist poetic texts which strike to the heart of the Georgian national identity. While we could say Georgian music is very unique in its harmony and also the way that it's performed, of course it has influences and similarities to music all over the world. One thing that brings all people together is that we both perform music and we love to listen to music. So as you listen to Georgian music, you will hear elements that sound familiar to you. For example, it may sound similar to other polyphonic a cappella singing traditions, famously the Bulgarian singing or the Corsican and Sardinian singing. Even some kinds of medieval European music have similarities to what we hear in Georgia. Some of the melodies from Samegrelo in West Georgia that are harmonized with parallel thirds, intervals, and that's very similar to styles that we get out of England in the 14th, 15th, 16th century, and even similar to the way that bluegrass music is harmonized, for example, or sacred harp singing, which is old Protestant American singing. It's very similar in some ways in the vocal production and also the harmonization with fourths and fifth intervals. So for those people looking for similarities with Georgian music, there's a lot to find as well.
Żeby nie pisać nic lepiej, ślisz ten dobem ze
like all great artistic traditions, it takes a little work to go and find it. So visitors to Georgia, you will need to do a little bit of searching to find Georgian music. It's not like everyone on the street is singing all the time now, much as some people would like to say. But here's a few tips. If you want to hear religious chant, then you can always go to Saturday afternoon Vesper service, which is open to the public. It starts usually at 4 or 5 p.m. and lasts 2 hours. And some of the churches that have the best music here in Tbilisi would be the Kashweti Church right across from Parliament Building, the oldest church in town, Anchishati, the Sioni Cathedral, the Sameba Cathedral, Dries Mama Church. There's a women's choir that sings there. Up in the fortress, there's St. Nicholas Church, it's a good choir there, and the Bethlehem churches in Mama Daviti too, and many others that I haven't named. So there's a lot of good choices to hear religious chant. And now for folk music, there are some restaurants that have hired singers that come in and they'll play a variety of music, and you can ask the singers. They love to interact, and you can ask them, where's that particular piece from? Who's the singer? What can I look up on YouTube or other places to find more of that particular style of music? Because usually in the restaurants, they'll sing one song from one region, another song from a different region, and some of them are 20th century compositions or 19th century, and some are anonymous ancient folk songs that have been passed down through oral tradition. So getting a sense of the differences in the type of music will help you learn more about this repertoires.
Well, a lot of gratitude goes to John for explaining that. That video is up on my other channel related to Georgian things, which is linked below, Georgian Crossroads, if you want to know more about this unusual country. And also, he has put his description there up on his channel as well. It's a very concise, spoken description of Georgian music. Now what we're going to do is listen to some other kinds of Georgian music. We're going to start off with, let's kick it into a different gear. The first group we're going to hear is a group called Byrne, and it's a group of guys, and they do a rock influenced style. I would put this actually kind of in the category of folk punk, which I will at some point make a video about, which kind of starts with groups like the Pogues, Ukrainians, then there are a lot of Czech, French, Italian, other variations on it. It's basically the folk traditions, but brought up to date with a more rocking kind of beat. And so they're singing a piece which translates into Caucasian Serenade. Just to put you straight, Caucasian here doesn't mean white people. How people of European descent ended up getting Caucasian is a very strange thing. But when we say Caucasian here in Georgia, we mean the Caucasus Mountains. So this is about a serenade from the Caucasus Mountains. But this isn't going to be a nice, peaceful serenade. Byrne, Caucasian Serenade.
Bez się ma czerw, nie da ci ufki, a mała muda, ale
Okay, now let's change the gear here a little bit. There are a couple of sisters I have been paying attention to in the last couple of years, and they are the sisters Nakaori. But they do very different kind of music from those other sisters we heard. One of the interesting facts about Georgia is that there are many different regions because there are so many mountains that divide everyone off into different regions. So what that means is that, for instance, the Gurian region, which we mentioned in John's discussion, I played you a bit of that music, has this weird yodeling kind of crazy harmonies and such. Whereas music from Kakheti, which I'll play you an example of in just a moment, has more of a drone and then min kind of floating over it. But let's listen to Leila Nakaori, and she is doing a piece that's just her playing the panduri. Panduri is a little instrument, looks a bit like a mandolin, but it's got gut kind of strings or plastic strings. And it's a simple instrument. It is tuned very simply, but I think you're going to find it kind of haunting, especially the rhythm she gets out of it. Let's pay attention. This is Leila Nakaori. A beautiful voice, by the way.
ჩულებსა ცენს გოფდა ჩაგიგმაზვიდე დაგიქსო ჭრელსა ჩულებსა ცენს გოფდა ჩაგიგმაზვიდე გაგცვლი დიტანი სამოსა ქორწილში გაგისტუმრებდე დაგიჭერ ცხენის უზანგას თანელა ჩაგიცინებდე დაგიჭერ ცხენის უზანგას თანელა ჩაგიცინებდე მომირე კავდი სტუმრებსა ქალგოხდა დაგიხვდებოდე სიტყვას გეტყოდი ისეცა ვაშკას თავს მოგაწონებდე სიტყვას გეტყოდი ისეცა ვაშკას თავს მოგაწონებდე ქალო მაგერერო კოხდაობ და ხელს არ მაძლევ ხელშია მიფთხვები ჯეირანივით დაიგრიხები წელშია მიფთხვები ჯეირანივით დაიგრიხები წელშია არ ვკადრობ რადგან წემსი ვარ და გამოზრდილი მთებშია რადგან ცხვარს დავდევ ყოველ დღე ჯოხი მიჭირავს ხელშია რადგან ხარს დავდევ ყოველ დღე ჯოხი მიჭირავს ხელშია ჩემსავით ძველი ნაბადი შეროდის გიტარებია ჩემსავით მწარე დღეები შეროდის გამოგივრია ჩემსავით მწარე დღეები შეროდის გამოგივრია მომეცი ტბილი სალამი წემსი ვარ გამეხარდება გულს ჩახოცილი დარდები ვარდივით ამიყვავდება გულს ჩახოცილი დარდები ვარდივით ამიყვავდება შერო მიცოდე ჯეილო უნებას შეგისრულებდე დაგიქცო ჭრელსა ჩულებსა ცხენს გოხდათ შაგი გამაზვიდე დაგიჭერ ცხენის უზანგას თანელა ჩაგიცინებდე
I just mentioned Kakheti. And Kakheti is the region probably most known for wine here. There's the Alazani Valley not far from here. Reminds me of California in many ways. And of course, you can see by that reference that that would be good wine growing region. In fact, wine is grown everywhere and in every backyard, and it hangs over the middle of streets here. It's pretty fascinating. But when I first came here in 2016, I went to this folk music school, and I met the man who ran it. His name was Georgi Ushikashvili. And he just said, okay, well, let me show you. He said, do you have any songs you want to hear? To which I'm still new to this. I know many more songs now, but at that time I didn't know the names of the songs. So he said, well, let's go ahead and play this one for you. And we're going to hear a song called Orovela, and it is haunting. He says some of these songs go back at least 1,000 years, and I believe it. And this is Kakhetian style, which is the drone underneath, and then this haunting melody going across it. Now, what's fascinating to me about this is you look at the guys who are singing, and you just go, just a bunch of guys. They don't look like they should be in any special choir or anything. But the music that comes out of their voices is incredible.
Hari Harali,
Also in 2016, I met a singer, one of the first people whose music attracted me to Georgia, Mariam Eliashvili. When I first started watching her videos of her just sitting around strumming the panduri, she was still in high school. And she's since gone on to be kind of a pop singer. But I got her to, I went with her to meet another group, Chwena Barevi, and we were in an old studio. You'll look at the background in this picture and go like, what kind of place is that? It was an old recording studio. This place has since been torn down. But it just seemed like a good place to record her singing. And so she sang a song for me on the panduri. Mariam Eliashvili. She has websites and her own YouTube channel. Maybe I'll link it below. Okay, another of the Nakaori sisters. This is Nino Nakaori. Nino is a girl's name here, whereas in Italy it's a man's name. But I remember one person I first met named Nino. She introduced herself as Nina. And I said, no, you're a Nino. You know, all the girls here are Ninos. There are a couple actually Ninas, because between Nino and Mariam, you've basically covered half the names of the girls here, and I'm not joking. I mean, if you just go, Nino, 6 girls will turn around if there's 20, you know. Mariam, the other, you know, another half, another quarter of the group will turn around. But this is a song called Marta Olba, and it was with a group that she plays with, sometimes called Satanao. How's that? This is with a group that she sings with called Satanao, and this was actually a recording from Israel. And so but this is just such haunting music. Her sister does music like this as well. I believe they're from up near Tusheti or something. Don't quote me on that if you're Georgian. But absolutely amazing music. I think they actually live here in Tbilisi, and someday I'd like to interview them and talk to them. And maybe I will. Let's just listen to this. Just prepare yourself. This is haunting.
خود კალათები ტყიანი Hari remirkiani Galage bulan prinvelani Ise dats lagizmiani Agars rojagro Sulsam khis mderit vavs madrobs Jala tadmadga garzeda Arash mashemi atzevi Rom kharidam
Okay, we're going to end ourselves up here with something a little longer, but with many different parts to it. And one of the groups of musicians and dancers that I've become friendly with is Erisioni. And I originally saw back around, has it been 12 years now? Yeah, about 12 years ago, I found a video of theirs that I ordered, a DVD, and it showed them dancing and such. So when I first came to Georgia, I looked around. I didn't find them in 2016. When I came back at the end of 2018, I found them 2018 I found them. And at the beginning, actually it was the beginning of the year. When I came back here in 2018, I found them near the beginning of the year. And they were practicing. So I met them doing rehearsals all the time. And they let me sit in there and do videos and photographs of them. And they were happy for the images I provided. But here's the important thing. This is like a finale they were doing at the time. They've since changed it up a couple more times. But so let me explain what you're about to watch. What you're about to watch is you're going to see the male choir. They're singing this song. As they're singing, a couple of the guys you wouldn't expect to be dancers kind of do this jokey sort of dance. And then the drummer or doli player named Shota comes out and kind of does a little bit of stuff. And if you start listening to the rhythms of the singers before the instrumentation comes in, it's already sending up this like motor kind of thing. It's a fascinating rhythm, and then the instruments kick in. And then after the instruments kick in, they're still singing, the instruments kick in, and then the dancers show up. And they start doing some incredible dancing. The men do the most serious dancing here. The women tend to, unfortunately, this one doesn't show you what the women do as much, except it shows you them in their kind of graceful mode. And then it stops. I wait around. There's an encore. And in the encore, it gets even crazier. And the men do this thing where it's kind of like a throwdown, where it gets more and more and more intense. And fascinating. Absolutely fascinating stuff. And I'm particularly, this video isn't perfect, but it is. It captures them exactly as I wish to remember them. So, Arisioni doing the finale to one of their shows in rehearsal. Take it away. Okay, while I recover from that, and while you recover, let me just thank you for being part of the Anadrome today. Remember, Anadrome is the place where things turn and go backwards. And we're going back upstream because something happened in this society where we went way too far out into the murky depths of the ocean. And we need to, like salmon, go back upstream towards home. Thanks for being here, and if you'd like to contribute, there is a PayPal link below. I use clips from things. I don't make any money on this channel. Even when I get to the point where I can't on my main channel, the Anadromist, which you should also check out. Links to more of my channels down below. There are several more. From Tbilisi, where the Georgians will say "drobit," which means temporarily. We'll just be gone from ourselves for a little while, and then Kagad, which means be well. And we will see each other again soon.
When I go, I want you to give me 5 minutes. I told you boys I'm no escape artist. For the first time, I like the odds.
At the round earth's imagined corners, blow your trumpets, angels, and arise, arise from death, you numberless infinities of souls.
Ah! Zampata masa e